My next guest is an artist that has created works that have sold over 60 million albums with one of his bands, The Cure. He's a phenomenal guitar and keyboard player, a world-renowned artist and painter, and I've been lucky enough to work with him musically. Pearl and I have become very good friends over this time. So I want everyone to meet Pearl. He's an amazing inspiration to everyone. So would you please welcome Pearl Thompson.
Hey Pearl, how are you, mate?
Hi, Finn. Good. How are you?
Good to see you, mate. It's good to see you. How's LA treating you? How's the desert?
It's cold but good.
Oh, that's good. That's
not
good.
And not too many beasties around at the minute, so it's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So Pearl, look, the show Welcome to Finland. Thank you for being on the first pilot. But look, the show covers creativity and a whole new mindset. And I just wanted to understand, as someone who's created so much amazing creative work through the world, that's actually generated a lot of money and a lot of sales. How do you go about a creative process? How do you get yourself into that creative mindset?
Well, obviously, the environment that I've set up at home is always conducive to a creative outpour. So, it's like a multimedia sort of universe with everything ready just in case type of vibe. Just the aesthetic of being able to create in peace and quiet and uninterrupted that's the main home environment. Yeah.
Right. So do you find that having that sort of peace and setting up what the environment, when you say that, is it about how you, because I know you paint and you do music, and so is it about the environment that inspires you? Is that what it is? You create it so you wake up and you feel inspired, or?
Yeah, definitely. The environment, including the actual landscape at the minute, is very inspiring. But just being able to be in a space that is set up for you to work without any interruption and working at unusual hours so that we don't get disturbed. You know, I work late at night, early in the morning, mainly.
Well, that's interesting, because there's some current research that's come out that basically says that people today are online longer than they are asleep, and so that's probably a really important point for some of the people at home just to take away. That if you don't, from what you're saying, is at least for you, if you don't have that quiet time, you can't find that creative spark. You know, would you agree that if technology is bombarding, or you're getting emails or phone calls or TV, that would disrupt your creative process?
I wouldn't allow it in. Yeah, it definitely would. Yeah,
Right.
It's crazy everywhere you go now. Everybody's looking down instead of forward these days.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere without seeing the top of somebody's head.
Yeah. So would, as a recommendation for some of the people that want to have a bit more of a creative mindset, would you sort of recommend that they start sort of trying to allocate a certain part of their day to be quiet, whether in the morning or the night, or trying to create an environment whereby they feel that they might be able to get creative?
Well, I think creativity comes from an ether source, and if your mind is clogged up with all this continuous bombardment of things you can do nothing about, where do you get the signal to come in and start a creative process, really?
Yeah.
So for myself, it's like I like to try and keep as open as I can, and then let the whole thing flow through.
Yeah, right. And so with bands like, I know you've played with The Cure and Led Zeppelin and all these bands. So how did it work with, say, The Cure when you're writing sessions? Because you're all very creative people. How did that work when you came together?
Yeah, well, it was literally everybody would go away and do their thing and then come together before starting a new album. Bring in everything that you'd done on your own, and then as a collective go through it and everybody see what they liked, what inspired people, what brought people in, and then amalgamate the whole thing. And it was a long process. I mean, we'd end up with sessions for 80 songs or so.
Right.
And then now, working with Gonja Sufi,
Yep.
Sumach and I, we go in a room, we hardly speak, we just start a beat, start a thing, and the whole thing evolves, and we'll go on for 8 hours and not, and just play.
Yeah.
And then go away, leave it, and come back and see what came out of that.
Well, I was blessed enough to do some
it's
music.
different for different people. It's
Yeah,
different, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was blessed enough
Own
to do that music with you, and that was a great experience, just working in a different
it's good
workflow.
fun. I
So,
mean, we
yeah,
both learned a lot from that, I think.
yeah. No, it was great. So, as parting words, any other tips or hints that you might have for any of the people out there and trying to be a little bit more creative, besides trying to set up the environment and just making sure they spend some time, some quality alone time without that sort of interruption?
Well, it's almost like now with everything being available digitally, it's like having home cottage industry again,
Right.
but in a more advanced
Yeah.
version of, and especially for a creative person, there's so much that you can do with a computer, but don't let the computer rule it. You still have to have the source, and that is by being open to the natural creativity.
So, Pearl, I know. I know I'm guilty of it myself. It's this syndrome of having all the plugins and all the gear, and then that can actually stop you creating too by buying too much equipment. What's your setup these days? Do you agree with that? It's about having a simple workflow and being able to not have too much gear whereby it takes too long to switch on and get your ideas and inspiration.
I'm terrible. I still have just a guitar amp and a few pedals,
Right.
and then record it on an iPad, one track, and then add that to take it along to wherever or whatever.
Yeah.
But even with the drawing and painting, I still do all that physically, then scan it into, and rather than using digital format. Although I am using digital format as well, but really, I just don't think you should get bogged down with one thing, you know.
Right. Yeah. So what are you working on at the moment, Phil? What have you got coming up?
God, well, I've been working on pieces of jewellery,
Right.
which incorporating, obviously painting,
Yeah.
as you can see,
Yeah.
background there, constantly, and still just
Still doing your painting, and you did the top.
As the day presents itself, that is the journey I'll take that day, you know, and
Yeah.
hopefully have enough outlets to keep those things flowing, really.
Well, thanks, Pearl. It's been a real treat having you on my first show here, and look forward to catching up with you and Diana again real soon. And have a great day.
Yeah,
All right.
we love you.
You too, buddy. Take care, mate. See you soon.